What does one say to an ancient Nephilim ghost?
I suppose you start with...
Go! Get to the chopper!
Hello, my friend. Stay a while and listen.
What's going on YouTube? It's Filthy and we're back with another Diablo 3 Season 36 video. Today we're going to look at the Natalya Set, which is the starting set for the Demon Hunter. We're going to show you the 2, 4 and 6 piece bonuses and get you into Torment 16 just as fast as we can. If that sounds good, a thumbs up always brightens my day. Now, even though we gave the Nova Necro the fastest start in the video the other day, I still think Demon Hunter will be quite popular, because I think a lot of people are going to want to go off and do Gates of Dreadlands, because it's just such a good, fast and efficient farming build. But you're going to have to start with the Natalyas, because that is what the game is going to give you. And ultimately that's what we're going to go through today. Now, this isn't a leveling video. You can level a Necromancer, do your 6-piece journey, and then come back and collect your nat pieces on a Demon Hunter, and then power level yourself in effect. But this is going to assume that you've got to 70, and you need to know what to do to get the 2, 4, 6-piece bonuses, and just make sure you've got enough power to get through that particular progression. So what does the 2-piece on Natalya's do? Well, Spike Trap deals 100% increased damage to enemies affected by caltrops, so you need to get that skill off. The Spike Traps will now instantly refresh charges on use and no longer cost resources, and each detonation restores 2 discipline. This is actually quite handy because early on in Diablo 3 normally you're really struggling for resource, but because the 2-piece is very friendly in this regard, it means that you can pump out lots of Spike Traps and do lots of damage. The rest of the stuff is just all yellow items, all level 70, but you will find stuff as you go. Bane of the Powerful, because this is pretty easy to get. All you've got to do is do 1 Greater Rift and you will have this, and obviously you'll probably find some legendary items. Obviously no Paragon points at all. We should put move speed in because we're not savages really. In terms of the skills, we've got Spike Traps. We're going for the custom trigger rune because this will allow us to basically detonate our own traps, which is quite nice because otherwise we're going to have to wait for them to blow up. Evasive Fire, this is just, I've been left this on from the push build. You could probably pick any primary, it wouldn't really matter. Vengeance, Dark Heart, you have no cooldown immediately when you get to 70, but I still think this is worth it because you can get cooldown pylons, it's extra damage reduction, and we're just going to go for it. Now, you might be a little squishy initially at 70, so I've put Shadow Power Gloom on for 35% damage reduction. Again, you're going to be restoring discipline fairly quickly, so you might get some okay uptime on it, but bear in mind you do want to be popping down your caltrops bait the trap so that you can basically get your extra crit chance when you stood on it, and also so that you can get extra damage out of the 2-piece. And then we've got smoke screens so that we can run about really fast. Now, again, we're hoping we're going to be okay with discipline. In terms of passives, again, it doesn't really matter for just beating Master, but I like Hot Pursuit early on in the game just because the move speed is nice. Perfectionist is just helping out with that discipline, so we can move faster with smoke screen. Custom engineering, obviously we want to have extra Spike Traps, that's pretty cool. And then ambush, just for a little bit of extra damage. Could go with a bunch of different passives, I'm sure. Again, on the season, you'll have the Altar of Rights. You might get super lucky, guys, and find a Soul Shard. But I think realistically, this is about as friendly budget as we can get. No GMs and anything whatsoever. 250k sheet damage, and you never know, you might find something actually usable whilst leveling. But all we've got to do is Master, so I'm going to remake the game on Master and just show you that it does actually work. One thing I should have said, guys, is you always get the gloves and hat first, so they're the 2. Now obviously this is a nice pair of non-ancients. It's got perfect double crit on, because ultimately I tend not to keep crappy gear, but bear in mind any legendaries can have much higher stats than the other stuff that we've got. Now, Master difficulty, we're not going to do this full rift because that would be super boring, but as you can see, you know, we do enough damage to basically clear, and that's all that we really care about, because so long as we can blow up stuff on Master, we're pretty good to go to get the 4-piece. Now, if you were feeling squishy and you were, say, maybe not having quite so good gear, perhaps, you could always go and get yourself a pair of Wraps of Clarity from level 1, because obviously with the damage reduction buffs up, we're fine, but another 50% damage reduction would be kind of handy. But yeah, smash some buttons, master, like, oh, of course, it's not amazing with no Paragon and no other supporting items, but you can get the picture. We can do master, and it's going to be fine. So let's move on and look at the 4-piece. Okay guys, so let's have a look at the 4-piece. Now, we are a little tight on damage, to be honest, to do GR20. We can get it done. It's just not going to be particularly pretty. Now, of course, you will probably have more legendary items. So I've plugged in a couple of Dex gems, because again, you'll have these by this point. I've put the crit damage one into the weapon. But yeah, the ring always rolls with the socket, which is really nice for legendary gems. You do get this lovely 75% damage reduction on the 4-piece. So Spike Trap explosions will blast affected enemies towards the nearest set caltrope. It is quite important to get this off so that you can get the extra damage. So I think probably what I would do is not be pressing Shadow Power. So I would probably maybe put something like Boar Companion on for the damage reduction instead. I think maybe I've done that in the 6-piece. Let's put something like, let's put that on, because that's not going to impact the build either. But yeah, the extra kind of like damage reduction there could be handy. Obviously, you've only got to do the clear once, so by all means, Wolf Companion for a little bit of extra damage. But again, cooldown's really, really tight early on. Again, no Paragon, and then we'll just jump into this 20 and sort of see how we go. Need to make sure we are getting the traps down. Obviously, it activates the damage reduction, and it is a decent amount of damage as well. So we need to make sure we get the caltrop down, and then it can be a bit fiddly, this, because you've got to remember to actually press the spike trap buttons, because if you don't actually get your 5 spike traps and then click the button, it's gonna suck basically. So 5 spike traps, left click, and ideally if you can pop your little caltrop down as well, then you're going to get extra damage. So build it up to 5, click the button, and then you kind of do it like that. Really clunky, unfortunately, but ultimately if you just like left click, obviously we're not doing any damage. So you've got to make sure you get those spike traps down to 5, hit the caltrops, and then press left click. And so long as you're doing that, then it'll be okay. You've also got your Wolf Companion should you need it. So let's try this Elite, I guess. So we'll pop the little caltrop thing down, press it a few times, make sure it hits everything. Rip 5 spike traps, hit the wolf. I'm not too bad. We did a bunch of damage. Now you can just simply left and right click like that if you want. It's going to be probably a little bit slower, but don't worry too much if you panic. It is clunky, but it just is what it is. But GR20, you will get it busted out, no problemo. And as I say, remember, season theme on top, better legendaries, all that good stuff. It should be no problemo. So let's move on to the 6-piece. Now, when looking at the 6-piece, we can probably get up to like Torment 9, Torment 10. So out of our final baggie, we're going to get the trousers, we're going to get the cape, and we're going to get the actual weapon. So it's kind of nice. You're gonna have 2 legendary weapons as soon as you get the 6-piece, which is good. I've stuck a Wrap of Clarity in the cube because, again, it's in the level 1 loot pool. It's pretty easy to get with your blood shards. We're still using nothing in the cube beneficial in the jewelry or weapon slot. We're still using this crappy 10 clip that's not doing anything. So again, guys, you'll be more powerful than this. Leaving all the yellow items on, I've pumped in some slightly better gems to reflect the fact that you'll have something in the way of legendaries by the time you get the 6-piece. Like, absolutely trust me. But this is with no modifier. So again, still no Paragon in. And then 10's possibly a bit of a stretch, but 9 I think should be doable. Now, you possibly won't have a Boon of the Horde of gold wrap by this point. So again, this is going to be the same as last time. We're looking to get those 5 spike traps out, and then as you can see, woohoo, a legendary. And yeah, we can kind of possibly push to 10 if we play the build quite well. But you need to bear in mind, you want to be efficient, so we don't want to be taking like forever to kill stuff, because ultimately, whilst we're going to invest in this build because it's the set that we've got, what we really want is going to be the Gears of Dreadlands set. But if you can just get quite a few of the spike traps out, you can spread them out as well if you can't be bothered to like trying to tag everything with the caltrops. But we, largely speaking, 1 or 2 hit that elite, pick up the DB, and then obviously we can invest it in the character. So I guess we'll just go and look at some of the modifiers and sort of show you the kind of jumps that we can make once we find like the next piece of the build. Now, for the next part, we're going to be looking for the Tragoul's coils. I think this is going to be the easiest thing to get because, of course, we'll roll all of our blood shards at Kadala on braces, and eventually it'll pop out. So it's probably going to be faster than finding a Demon's Demise. It's also going to be faster than finding the Cannon Bolt. I mean, don't get me wrong, we're going to be upgrading one-handed crossbows, trying to get this. We're going to be uphanding two-handed crossbows to try and get this. But let's be realistic, this is going to be the first modifier. Spike traps gain the scatter rune. They deploy twice as fast, they're a little less clunky to put down, and you get like up to a 200% damage modifier. These ones have rolled with fire on, which is obviously really handy because we are using the fire rune. Now, in terms of toughness, as you go up, it again depends on the gear that you find. But generally speaking, if you can get yourself a gold wrap again in the loot pool at level 1, and if you do find a puzzle ring, or by chance if you're playing you end up getting into Greed's Realm, Boon of the Hoarder will help you out. If you don't have that set up, then you are going to have to really stack a bit more damage reduction. So you're back onto using the Wraps of Clarity braces, which are not in weapons, which will give you your 50%. So that's going to be pretty much essential. You probably want to swap out the cooldown gem for a purple one for toughness. Again, you'll find things. You might find a couple of unities and a token of invulnerability. You might find yourself an elusive ring for 60% damage reduction. Obviously, you just need to make sure you pop in your smoke screen every like 8 seconds or whatever. We're going to use Boon of the Hoarder gold wrap because I just think it's like quite straightforward. And as I say, the Tragoul's Call. This will probably put us at about Torment 12. Again, it'll depend on how good we are with the build. It'll depend on what else we find. But it's nice to know that we can kind of make this jump because the game used to end at Torment 13. So to get to 12 is decent. Now we can actually have more spike traps with the rune that we've inherited. So yeah, again, nice and comfy here. So again, we'd find an amulet, yay! That would give us more power, I'm sure, because it'd probably have like, something useful on it. Could have been a Squirt's necklace, which would have been nice. We'll also have the Altar of Rites as well. So again, there could be a little bit of juice. It depends how far you've got with that. I think we've put on Boar Companion. I think that was when I was messing around trying to do this without the Boon of the Hoarder gold wrap. So again, swap that back to the wolf for a bit more damage. But it's pretty much like we're basically just doing the same build again, which is putting the traps down, trying to make sure that we get the caltrops off and blow them up. But yeah, it's not too bad. It's a little bit clicky, a little bit fiddly, but yeah, we can get Torment 12 done, and you're not going to have to kick around on here too much. Remember, get your follower a Sage's set for double DBs, because you probably won't have that like activated in the altar until a little bit later on. But that will allow you to upgrade stuff almost twice as fast. But yeah, let's move on, look at the next modifier. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to add in the Cannon Bolter. Spike traps lure enemies to them, deal 200% increased damage, and an enemy can be taunted every 10 seconds. It was a bit of a toss-up as to whether to put the Demon's Demise in first, or the Cannon Bolter. I think this one's probably easier to upgrade. I think there are fewer two-handed crossbows than there are one-handed crossbows. But, it's going to be a toss-up. You might find one, you might find the other. So let's jump in. Now, this is probably 13 or 14 viable. It'll just kind of depend, again, on gear and stuff like that. So again, Boon of the Hoarder gold wrap is what we're going to do. But again, the goal with this is we're just trying to keep this nice and comfy so that the enemies die nice and quick, so that we're being efficient as we go through. So this guy just doesn't want to die. Really didn't want to die. But that would be another 2 DBs, and you'd be, sticking it into the cube with all of your upgrades on the one-handed crossbow. But yeah, not too bad. I think a pretty, Torment 13 for kind of finding a pair of braces with shards and like one lucky upgrade with a 2-handed crossbow. I think that's a fairly fast-ish start. So let's add the last piece and show you that we can do Torment 16 with no Paragon and with no gems. Yeah, and that's going to be good. But even though, there we go, another 2 DBs. Excellent. So this is it, guys. This is the final piece to get the kind of like base build going up, which is the Demon's Demise. Each blast from Spike Trap will now damage all enemies again after 1 second and deals 198% increased damage. Now, it is more powerful than the Cannon Bolter, so it probably makes sense to invest in this one first. So you might find this one before the Cannon Bolter, in which case, obviously, you'll be doing a little better than finding this one first. But ultimately, that's all you need for Torment 16. We don't need a Squirts, we don't need a Convention of Elements, we don't need Legendaries. We still don't need any Paragon. You'll have like 400 Paragon points to assign by this point. You'll probably have a Soul Shard. But yeah, I think this is like fairly good way into Torment 16 because we don't really need much. But unfortunately, this isn't like massively efficient because we've got to pop the traps down and blow them up. So yeah, Gears of Dreadlands is where you want to go. You want to go and play that, I guess. Multi-shot is not as strong early on, I don't think, in my opinion, but it is certainly fun. And I know people get a little bored of Spin to Win. So there you kind of 2 easy peasy Demon Hunter builds. As always, guys, when you're making a Demon Hunter and leveling, do look out for shadow pieces, because if you find 2 of those, you get like a really nice damage increase, which is good. But effectively, it probably wouldn't take you long to put Gears of Dreadlands together once you get to this point, because you basically just roll your blood shards on pants, convert in the cube until you've got 6, and then the modifiers for the... Go away! The modifiers for the Gears of Dreadlands are simply just the satchel and the belt. So again, both pretty easy to find. Look, we're not playing hardcore. But yeah, you really don't need much for this Demon Hunter to get yourself into Torment 16. Pretty easy time of it, to be honest. And I think it does make this a pretty solid start. I hope you find this useful. Obviously, you get the entire checklist in the game by just pressing Shift J to do your season journey. But Master for the 2 pieces where you need to be, GR20 for the 4 piece, and then it's literally just race to get to Torment 16 after that. Looking out for all these lovely Gears of Dreadland pieces. Right, if you're starting Demon Hunter, I wish you all the best. I'll be back with some more build-up videos soon. Take it easy, guys. Peace.